Michael Jackson, a name that needs no introduction. For millions around the world, he was more than just a pop star. He was a symbol of talent, ambition, and transformation. His contributions to music, dance, and pop culture are unparalleled, leaving an indelible mark on generations to come. But in 2009, the world was shaken by the shocking news that Michael Jackson had passed away. His death didn't just affect fans, it sent shockwaves through the entire world. The questions began immediately. How could this happen to the king of pop? What led to his untimely death? It's been years since that fateful day, but the mystery surrounding Michael Jackson's death still lingers. While some might think they know the truth, many are still uncertain about the exact circumstances that led to his demise. Today we'll dive deep into the details of what happened and explore the investigation, the legal aftermath, and the many theories that have surrounded the death of an icon. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content on your favorite pop culture topics. Michael Jackson's career was nothing short of extraordinary. Born into the Jackson family in 1958, he quickly emerged as the star of the Jackson 5. But it wasn't long before he broke free from the group's shadow to become one of the most iconic and influential solo artists in history. From his early years as a child prodigy to his rise as a global superstar, Michael's trajectory seemed unstoppable. His album Thriller, 1982, changed the music industry forever. It became the best-selling album of all time, featuring iconic tracks like Billie Jean, Thriller, and Beat It. These songs not only revolutionized pop music, but also redefined the way music videos were made, with Jackson's elaborate storytelling and stunning choreography setting a new standard. His impact on dance with moves like the moonwalk became legendary, influencing not only musicians but countless artists across various genres. But Jackson's success didn't end with Thriller. Albums like Bad, Dangerous, and History cemented his place as a musical pioneer. He was a global sensation, not just for his music, but for his ability to break down racial barriers and bring people together through his performances. His influence extended beyond music. He shaped fashion, dance, and even the very culture of the 1980s and 1990s. Jackson was more than just an artist. He was an international cultural force. Throughout his career, Jackson faced personal and public challenges, but his resilience in the face of adversity only enhanced his mystique. Whether it was his groundbreaking performances or his charitable work, Jackson was always a figure larger than life, constantly pushing boundaries and changing the game. His career was defined by creativity, controversy, and an unyielding desire to leave a lasting impact on the world. Michael Jackson wasn't just a pop star. He was a cultural phenomenon, shaping music history for generations. But despite his incredible achievements, cracks began to form in his life. The pressures of fame, coupled with his personal struggles, eventually began to take a toll. As his health started to decline, the world watched as the king of pop faced his biggest battle yet, the battle for his own well-being. By the time Michael Jackson was preparing for his This Is It tour in 2009, his health had become a growing concern. Over the years, Jackson had faced numerous personal struggles, some of which were visible to the public, while others were kept behind closed doors. His appearance had changed dramatically, leading to widespread speculation about his health and personal life. But what most people didn't know was the toll fame had taken on him, physically and mentally. Jackson had long battled insomnia, which became one of his most persistent issues in the final years of his life. The exhaustion from his high-pressure career, coupled with the emotional strain of his personal life, left him desperate for a solution: to get some rest. To cope, he turned to prescription drugs, with some of the most controversial being powerful sedatives. One drug, in particular, played a key role in his decline: propofol. Known as a powerful anesthetic, propofol is not meant for routine use outside of hospitals. Yet Jackson had been relying on it for months to help him sleep. His doctors, including Conrad Murray, were reportedly administering the drug to him in increasing doses. This dangerous pattern of self-medication would ultimately contribute to his demise. Despite his fragile health, Jackson was determined to push forward with his This Is It concert series, an ambitious series of performances set to take place in London. It was to be his grand comeback, his return to the stage after years of personal and professional turmoil. The pressure was immense, and Jackson was not in peak physical condition to endure such a grueling schedule. Reports suggest that Jackson's health had been deteriorating for some time, with his frailty becoming more evident as he struggled with his physical and mental well-being. As he prepared for his big comeback, the world had no idea that the King of Pop was quietly battling for his life in the background. Behind the bright lights, Jackson's health was in jeopardy. What seemed to be a brilliant return to the stage, for a legend, was, in reality, a time bomb waiting to explode. The morning of June 25, 2009, began like any other for Michael Jackson, but it would end in unimaginable tragedy. Just weeks before his scheduled comeback concerts in London, Jackson was in the midst of rehearsals for This Is It, his highly anticipated return to the stage. He was preparing for what he hoped would be a triumphant and rejuvenating chapter in his career. But as the day unfolded, the world was about to be struck with devastating news that no one saw coming. Jackson had been living under extreme pressure. Reports suggest that he had been feeling increasingly weak and exhausted, struggling with his mental and physical health. His insomnia had worsened, and his dependence on drugs like propofol had reached dangerous levels. On the morning of June 25, Jackson was found unconscious in his Los Angeles home. His personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, was the first to discover that Jackson was not breathing. Murray immediately called 911, and paramedics rushed to the scene. Despite efforts to revive him, including CPR and the administration of medications, to stabilize him, it was too late. Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. local time. The news sent shockwaves across the globe. Fans, friends, and colleagues were left in disbelief. A man who had captivated the world with his music, dance moves, and larger-than-life persona was suddenly gone. In the aftermath of his death, questions immediately arose. What had happened? How could a man who had seemed to be preparing for such a monumental return, with so much life ahead of him, suddenly be gone? The world wanted answers, and the investigation into Michael Jackson's death began almost immediately. While many fans and fellow artists expressed shock and grief, others began to speculate. Some immediately pointed fingers at Jackson's health issues, while others questioned the role of those closest to him, especially Dr. Conrad Murray, the physician who had been administering Jackson's drugs in the final days of his life. As the news unfolded, the world was left in mourning, but also grappling with the many questions that would eventually lead to a complex and highly publicized investigation. The death of Michael Jackson on June 25, 2009, triggered an immediate investigation by the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, who quickly began piecing together the circumstances surrounding his untimely passing. While the initial reports pointed to natural causes, the sudden and unexpected nature of Jackson's death raised suspicions. As more details emerged, it became clear that his demise was far from a simple case of heart failure. It was a puzzle that needed to be solved. The first red flag came when investigators discovered that Jackson had been receiving doses of propofol, a powerful anesthetic typically used in hospitals. It was a drug that had no place in a home setting, especially when administered outside of a controlled medical environment. According to reports, Dr. Conrad Murray, Jackson's personal physician, had been responsible for administering propofol to the singer in the weeks leading up to his death. The situation was further complicated when toxicology reports revealed that Jackson had not only overdosed on propofol, but he also had a cocktail of other drugs in his system. Propofol is a potent anesthetic used primarily in surgeries, but it had no place in a regular sleep regimen. Dr. Murray had been giving Jackson the drug in increasing doses, even though there were clear warnings against doing so. Despite knowing the dangers, Murray continued to supply Jackson with the drug, allegedly attempting to help him sleep despite the high risks involved. It was this combination of propofol and other medications that ultimately caused Jackson's death. The investigation into Michael Jackson's death also uncovered disturbing details about the medical care he was receiving. Reports suggested that Dr. Murray was not only administering propofol to Jackson, but that he had done so without proper medical supervision. The standard practices for administering such a powerful drug were grossly neglected, and Jackson was left vulnerable. It became apparent that Jackson had been dependent on drugs in the months leading up to his death, and his physical and mental health had been deteriorating. As investigators dug deeper, the world began to realize the dangerous and reckless nature of the treatment Jackson had been receiving. The case quickly shifted from a routine death investigation to a much more complex and unsettling situation involving questions of medical malpractice, negligence, and ultimately, culpability. The events that followed Michael Jackson's death led to a highly publicized trial that captured the world's attention. In 2011, Conrad Murray, Jackson's personal physician, was charged with involuntary manslaughter for his role in the singer's death. The trial was not just about assigning blame for Jackson's passing, but about examining the practices of medical professionals who had been involved in administering dangerous drugs, and the trust placed in them by celebrities seeking relief from the pressures of fame. The trial was a spectacle. The prosecution presented a compelling case, arguing that Murray had acted recklessly and negligently by administering propofol to Jackson in a non-hospital setting. Dr. Murray's defense, however, claimed that he had been attempting to treat Jackson's insomnia and that Jackson had self-administered the fatal dose of propofol. But the facts painted a different picture. Witnesses testified that Dr. Murray had failed to properly monitor Jackson during the night and had not followed appropriate medical procedures in administering the drug. The prosecution presented a series of damning pieces of evidence, including a recording of Jackson's final moments. In it, Jackson could be heard pleading for help, his voice weak and faint, an audio clip that added to the tragic nature of the case. For many, it was a chilling glimpse into the final hours of a man who had been a global icon. Experts testified that Murray had shown gross negligence in his treatment of Jackson. According to the evidence, Murray had administered a large dose of propofol in Jackson's bedroom and then left him unattended for an extended period. Murray had also failed to have the proper equipment, such as resuscitation devices, on hand in case of an emergency. He neglected standard medical protocols, and this failure ultimately cost Michael Jackson his life. On November 7, 2011, after a dramatic and emotional trial, Dr. Conrad Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. The jury determined that he was directly responsible for Jackson's death, albeit without the intent to kill. Murray was sentenced to 4 years in prison, though he would only serve about 2 years before being released. His conviction left many of Jackson's fans feeling that justice had been served, while others believed the sentence was too lenient, considering the severity of the circumstances. The trial was not just about the fate of Conrad Murray. It was a moment that highlighted the ethical responsibilities of medical professionals, the dangers of prescription drugs, and the tragic consequences of celebrity culture's dependence on doctors to meet the pressures of fame. For many, it was a bitter reminder of how a simple act of medical negligence could result in the loss of an icon. The shock and sadness surrounding Michael Jackson's death quickly turned into an endless cycle of speculation and conspiracy theories. For many fans, the idea that the king of pop could have passed away so suddenly seemed implausible. Michael Jackson was, after all, a global icon. His music and legacy transcended generations. So the question lingered, could Michael Jackson have faked his own death? This idea that Jackson might still be alive is one of the most persistent and bizarre conspiracy theories to emerge after his death. Some believed that he had staged his death in order to escape the overwhelming pressures of fame, financial struggles, and personal crises. According to this theory, Jackson, tired of the constant media scrutiny and pressure to perform, faked his death and went into hiding, living under an assumed identity. It's a theory that has been fueled by the constant rumors and supposed sightings of the pop star in various parts of the world after his death. Some conspiracy theorists point to inconsistencies in the official reports surrounding his death, claiming that there were too many unanswered questions. Why was the coroner's report delayed? Why did it take so long to release information about his cause of death? These doubts, combined with strange details, such as the absence of a public funeral and the way his body was handled, gave rise to further speculation. The theory gained traction through social media, where fans claimed to have seen clues in the form of hidden messages in Jackson's music and music videos that suggested he was still alive. Documentaries, books, and internet forums dedicated to the idea of Jackson's survival continue to keep this theory alive. One of the more notable claims is that Jackson's death was a hoax designed to allow him to escape the public eye and live a more peaceful private life. According to these conspiracy theorists, Jackson had grown tired of the constant pressure and media intrusion and used his death as an escape strategy. They even cite supposed messages hidden in his final music video, "This Is It," which they believe contain clues to his planned disappearance. Yet despite the allure of this theory, there is little evidence to support it. Jackson's family, close friends, and colleagues have all maintained that his death was genuine. Additionally, the investigation into his death was thorough, and the overwhelming evidence points to a fatal overdose of propofol. The medical and toxicology reports leave little room for doubt that Jackson's death was the result of medical negligence. Still, the conspiracy theory persists, perpetuated by those unwilling to accept the tragic truth. For many, the idea of Michael Jackson being alive offers a comforting escape from the harsh reality of his death. But for others, it's a painful reminder of how celebrity culture can warp the way we perceive the truth. The mystery surrounding his death may never fully go away, but the facts are clear. Michael Jackson passed away on June 25, 2009, leaving behind a lasting legacy that continues to influence the world to this day. The death of Michael Jackson left a void in the world that has yet to be filled. As the king of pop, he had touched the lives of millions, reshaping the music industry and influencing generations of artists and fans alike. His passing, though tragic, has not diminished his impact. In fact, it has only amplified his legacy. In the years following his death, Jackson's music has continued to resonate with people around the world. His albums, particularly Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, and History, remain timeless classics that continue to inspire and entertain new generations of listeners. His influence extends far beyond the music industry. His unique style of dance, his social activism, and his contributions to popular culture are etched in the history of entertainment. One of the most lasting elements of Jackson's legacy is his ability to break down barriers. As one of the first black artists to gain widespread success on MTV, Jackson helped challenge racial boundaries in the music industry. He became a symbol of unity and hope, using his platform to promote messages of peace, love, and equality. Songs like Heal the World and Black or White reflect Jackson's deep commitment to social causes and his philanthropic efforts, including millions of dollars donated to charities, remain an integral part of his legacy. Beyond his music, Michael Jackson's death has also sparked an ongoing conversation about the pressures of fame and the toll it takes on celebrities. His struggles with addiction, his emotional and physical health, and his relationship with the media are all aspects of his life that have become the subject of much discussion. Jackson's passing served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of celebrity culture and the need for greater responsibility from those who are entrusted with the care of public figures. In the years following his death, Jackson's estate has worked tirelessly to preserve his legacy, releasing posthumous albums, documentaries, and even stage performances. The This Is It concert film, which showcased the behind-the-scenes footage of his final rehearsals, gave fans a glimpse into what might have been. Though Jackson's tragic death cut short his comeback, the film became a testament to his unparalleled work ethic and his unwavering commitment to his craft. Despite the controversy surrounding his life, Michael Jackson's influence cannot be overstated. He was a cultural force, an innovator, and an icon whose impact on music, dance, and entertainment continues to resonate. The world may have lost Michael Jackson on June 25, 2009, but his legacy lives on through his music, his art, and the countless lives he touched. In the end, Michael Jackson's death is a reminder of the fragility of life and the cost of fame. His story is one of brilliance, creativity, and profound struggle But it is also a testament to the power of music to transcend time and space, uniting people across the globe. Even as the world moves forward, the King of Pop's reign continues, and his music will forever be a part of the soundtrack to our lives. Even after more than a decade since Michael Jackson's passing, the questions surrounding his death remain at the forefront of many minds. Despite the official ruling that Jackson died from acute propofol intoxication, the circumstances leading up to his death have never been fully understood. The many unanswered questions about his health, the role of those closest to him, and the true nature of his medical treatment have fueled both public curiosity and continuing debate. One of the central questions that linger is whether Jackson's addiction to prescription drugs was a factor that was overlooked or even enabled by those around him. While some point to the role of Dr. Conrad Murray in administering dangerous substances, others believe that Jackson's struggle with addiction was deeper and more complex than anyone could have anticipated. Did the people around him enable this behavior, or were they simply too blinded by his fame and success to see the gravity of his condition? There are also questions about the true nature of Jackson's relationship with his doctors. His trust in Dr. Murray has been widely discussed, and many wonder whether Jackson had become so dependent on his physician that he was willing to take extreme measures to achieve the rest he so desperately needed. As we now know, Murray failed to provide Jackson with proper medical supervision and exposed him to serious risks. But to what extent was Jackson's own responsibility in jeopardizing his health overlooked by those who were supposed to care for him? Was Jackson's dependence on drugs ignored because it was easier to cater to his wishes rather than confront the truth? Another unanswered question revolves around Jackson's state of mind in the days leading up to his death. Was he truly preparing for a comeback, or was he struggling in silence with depression and isolation? Fans who had long admired him were shocked to learn of his fragile emotional and physical state, but few knew just how much he had been suffering. In his final days, Jackson's commitment to his This Is It tour was undeniable. But did his dedication come at the expense of his well-being? Finally, there's the larger issue of celebrity culture itself. Michael Jackson was an international icon, but his death serves as a harsh reminder of the dangers of fame. His life was constantly under scrutiny, and the intense pressure of public expectation took a heavy toll. Jackson was both adored and criticized, sometimes simultaneously, and his every move was monitored by the media. In many ways, Jackson's story highlights the toxic relationship between celebrities and the public, where fame can be both a blessing and a curse. In the years since his death, we've learned valuable lessons from the tragedy, yet many questions about Michael Jackson's life and death remain unanswered. Perhaps the most pressing question of all is, what could have been done differently to save him? And while we may never know the full truth, the one thing that is certain is that Michael Jackson's impact on the world, both musically and culturally, will never be forgotten. His story, complex and filled with contradictions, serves as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. Michael Jackson's death may have left an irreplaceable void, but his legacy continues to shape the world in profound ways. Even years after his passing, the King of Pop remains one of the most influential figures in music, culture, and entertainment. His impact on contemporary artists, musicians, and fans is as strong as ever, and his contributions to the music industry are still felt across the globe. One of the most significant aspects of Jackson's legacy is his influence on music itself. His innovative approach to pop music, blending genres like rock, R&B, and funk, set new standards for what was possible in the industry. Jackson's album Thriller remains the best-selling album of all time, and his groundbreaking work with iconic songs like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Smooth Criminal continues to inspire artists across genres. His influence can be seen in the music of artists like Usher, Beyoncé, Justin Timberlake, and Drake, who have all cited Jackson as a major inspiration. Jackson's influence extends beyond music. His choreography, including his iconic moonwalk, revolutionized the way artists performed on stage. His ability to combine music with dance to tell a story captivated audiences around the world, making him a pioneer in music videos. Artists like Britney Spears, Chris Brown, and Bruno Mars have all embraced Jackson's dance style, continuing his legacy through their own performances. Jackson was also a trailblazer when it came to breaking down racial barriers in entertainment. At a time when African American artists struggled to gain visibility in mainstream media, Jackson was one of the first black artists to be embraced by platforms like MTV, which helped him reach a global audience. His success proved that talent, rather than race, was what truly mattered, and it opened doors for future black artists to follow in his footsteps. Moreover, Jackson's philanthropic work has continued to resonate long after his death. He donated millions to charities and was a strong advocate for humanitarian causes. Songs like "We Are the World" and "Heal the World" reflect his commitment to making the world a better place. His charity work has inspired countless others to give back, and his legacy continues to motivate those who are working to make a difference in their communities. Though Jackson's death was tragic, it has sparked an ongoing conversation about the pressures of fame, the impact of addiction, and the responsibilities of medical professionals. His passing raised awareness about the dangers of prescription drug abuse and has led to greater discussions on how celebrities and their health should be better managed by the people around them. The King of Pop may no longer be physically with us, but his influence will never fade. His music, his creativity, and his humanitarian efforts have left an indelible mark on the world. Michael Jackson was, and always will be, more than just an entertainer. He was a global icon whose legacy continues to inspire and influence generations to come. In every beat, every move, and every song, Michael Jackson's spirit lives on.